Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reid, and it's a brand new month, and we're going to kick off April with somebody I've been hoping to get on Deep Cuts for a while now. So it's Mr. Omar de Frias from Fratello, and so let me bring on our guest.
What's up?
Omar,
What's
how are
up,
you?
Antoine? Thank you so much for having me over, man.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on the show for a while now.
Yeah, no, this is good, man. I'm glad we finally were able to make it happen, and I appreciate your patience and obviously your interest in having us on. So can't wait to have a great show, man.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've followed you in the industry for probably as long as I've been in the industry, and you've
Yeah,
had such an interesting story that I'm looking forward to sharing that story with everyone else. So, like I said, it's definitely a off the wall, offbeat story from based on everyone else. So, I'm looking forward to diving in and going deep with what your story is.
for sure.
Now, I guess before we dive into, there are certain things that most people know about you, and that the biggest thing is that you used to work for NASA.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your life before Fratello Cigars. Like, what were your interests? Obviously, it was the NASA part, but what were some of your interests that kind of led you to NASA, and then what led you to the cigar industry?
Yeah. So many things led me down this path that is kind of hard to always say. There was this one particular situation that was that really made it happen for me, but it really was a combination. Like all I really wanted to do, I'm not gonna lie, was just to play basketball. And so like that was my goal, man. I wanted to be a basketball player. As a matter of fact, you know what, since I am in my home, I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you like a little tour to make it even a little more interesting. So
Awesome.
that's actually me right there. I'm not sure if you guys can see it very well or not, but that's 6'9", 19-year-old Omar trying to trying to make it in the world of basketball. Which, by the way, it's incredibly hard. Should have gone for baseball. But it was good, man, because it allowed me a good experience of like connecting with like figuring out a way that I can play as a team, where it's not all about me. And so that to me that experience was massive. I try to get my kids to try to see if they can do any team sports because that obviously allows them to see broader than yourself. And I think that's one of the things that allowed me to excel at my previous job and do great at what I'm doing right now with Fratello. But the reality is, it's like I got injured while playing ball, and for any athlete, any professional athlete, it's a big deal when you get injured so young because you have so much to look forward to. I mean, I was 19 years old. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those situations that I'm trying like make sure we put something there. That made it so hard for just to basically, you know, as you are developing yourself as a professional athlete and making sure that you are giving it your all, which is what you do when you're 16, 17, 18, 19. This is the hunger area, right? I mean, there's no in between. Getting injured was a fatal shot to me. And so it was kind of hard to get from there to figure out how I was able to basically get back into the game. But in that process, I said, well, I mean, I guess I gotta go to school and see if I can get a good job at some point. So I ended up graduating in the Dominican Republic and graduating with a degree in marketing in the DR and hotel management, and I ended up going into University of Puerto Rico. Graduated with an MBA there. I went to RIT and I graduated from in a business degree in international relations. So it allowed me to kind of like progress. Obviously, getting injured allowed me to progress into the study and the educational field, and ended up at NASA in 2004 after that.
So, I mean, you obviously are super tall, because I know that when I saw you at TPE a couple weeks ago and we took a picture together, I kind of looked like you're a mini me compared to you. So
You're like around about here, right?
probably even lower than that. It was like, I was like, wow, like, so yeah, but definitely. So you, what was it like working at NASA? Because I think we hear about it, but to be honest, NASA's not an agency you hear a lot about anymore, because when you're talking about the space stuff, it's always kind of outside of NASA now. So what was it like working in NASA?
Yeah, so NASA is still playing a major role in this, and obviously in the research and development side of the house when it comes to the space program. What for me was the biggest thing is the development that they did with me. They invested well over $350,000 in during my career and development and leadership. They put me in a fast track leadership development program when I was just like 26 years old. And that really allowed me to excel and start growing and going up the ranks pretty fast. Like I was along with a kid, a 32-year-old kid from Palo Alto, California. There were only two GS-15s, which is in the federal government scale. It's very interesting how it happens. Like you go from a GS-1 to a GS-15 being the highest level in the federal government with responsibilities and also pay. So I was able to grow from a GS-9, which is when I came into the government, to like I barely made 30 and I was already, a GS-15, right? So it was the average age of a GS-15 in the government is about 50 years old. So this young kid out of Palo Alto and myself were the only ones, and I think it had a lot to do with the education process and the rigorous education process that we went through. I mean, I went to Stanford, I went to University of Pennsylvania in Wharton for select courses and classes, and so that really allowed me to grow. And so my last position at NASA I was managing a $5 billion budget for science. I was the director of resources for execution of that budget. And before that, I was managing a $4.5 billion procurement out of IT, the chief information officer in the agency. So I was put into really interesting and challenging positions, but I think that what allowed me to excel over anything else is just I did my job. It's gonna sound crazy to do, but I just did. I wasn't afraid to ask for more, and so that helped me grow through the stages of work quite a bit.
So at what point did you get into the whole cigar thing? Or like, I'm sure you started off as a consumer of cigars,
Yeah.
and then obviously there was a light bulb moment that led you to say, I think I could take this even further, or I want to take this even further. So
Yeah.
how did you start off how did you get into cigars in general as a consumer? And then how did you make that transition into the business side of it?
Yeah. So I've been a cigar smoker since I was like 16, 17 years old. I grew up next to a retail shop in the Dominican Republic. And one of the things that I thought was incredible to you and me was the pedigree, the outside view, the nice hats, the nice cars, and my grandpa smoking a cigar, and there was a lady bringing him coffee, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds like the life, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going over and he's playing ball, bouncing my ball as I'm walking through the court, and I see this, and my eyes get super big, and so I went on a very early age. I was 15 years old. The first time I came into the humidor, I was like, "Hey, let me get a cigar." I was like 6'5" already, so it's not like I could not pass as an adult. But the guy knew my mother. It was like, "Bro, if I sell you a cigar, your mother will hang me, okay, upside down, and then slap me." So no, get the hell out of here. So he kept on, but I kept on going in because I was just fascinated by it. And one time he just invited me over and I was watching a guy perform his art and I was fascinated. It was just a tabaquero. He was breaking the tobacco. He was working. He was rolling, getting his hands dirty. And I could not believe that a whole bunch of dry leaves, he could put this beautiful cigar together. And so that fascinated me. I ended up actually becoming a regular in that store, and really getting behind the bandwagon of smoking premium cigars early on. So I fast forward to 2013. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to get a chance to get down and dirty on a business. I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit about me that I wanted to do something else, something that could challenge me, and but I wanted to do something that I loved as well. And
Mhm.
so, I love wine, I love beer, I love all of these different things, but the access to market to those items are incredibly hard at times. And so I ended up focusing on beer, on cigars. Now I happen to also own a beer company, so it's cool. But it was cigars that made it in 2013 as part of like something I really enjoyed, and I got behind it, Antoine, and the rest was history.
So where did the name for the company come from?
So it's from my college days. I was a smart ass in college. I just bust people's balls and just like you know shoot around and talk to people. It was like taking an Italian class. I ended up talking to one of my buddies, and I knew that Fratello meant brother. Fratello meant brother in Italian. So I was like, "Hey, mi fratello, get over here. Let me ask you a question." So people were like, "What the hell is that?" Like people just don't know. So it was like you just called people brother in the DR, and so people started calling me my fratello. I was like, "No, no, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't be calling me my fratello. Like I'm calling you like fratello, just so I can explain the message." And the moment I saw myself explaining what fratello meant, immediately I knew I was screwed, man. I knew that you don't pick your nicknames, or you pick your parents in life, bro. And that is exactly what happened to me.
Wow. I remember my first encounter with your brand, and I think you was probably at Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival 2015. It was my first time they let me out into the wild to take pictures and get to know people. And I
Yeah,
remember stopping by the booth and interacting with you and your team at the time there. And it was a very different brand because I always look at branding as a graphic designer. And
yeah,
so I would notice, like you see like the very ornate um, brands and cigar bands, and then yours is like again, like you do kind of think of like the little, college, exactly the college kind of frat uh,
yeah.
mentality. So I always thought it was like really different, and it was good because you kind of
Mhm.
want to distinguish yourself in the market.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it took 6 months, like pretty a little bit over 6 months to come up with a brand. And I wanted something different. I wanted something that was New York. It was barber pole camaraderie. I wanted something that was Radio City. I love the red, love Coca-Cola, all these different things. So I told all these ideas, like I want you to just like give me let's work on a brand that you can identify if you're smoking a cigar, that you don't have to double count and say, is that a Fratello or is that? So I think we created something very unique. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest props that I was given was by Jonathan Drew. He looked at my brand one time and he approached me. I would remember this. It was in Wichita, and everybody's surrounding him. Everybody wants a piece of Jonathan, and he comes over. And I've never met the guy, but obviously I knew who he was. And he was like, "You got $1 million brand on that cigar. Good job." And then he just leaves. And then he comes back and says something a little crazy shit. But it was so much fun. It was great. It was a like a medal of valor when you are just starting off, not even a year in business, and you got a guy that transformed our industry to tell you something like that. I thought it was amazing.
So what was that first year like? Because as being just like a brand owner, because I'm sure you look back on it now probably with a completely different perspective, but I'm sure as you were going through it, maybe you had some second second thoughts about certain
Tough.
things in the industry.
It was tough, bro. It was tough. Like a lot of people don't know this, but the cigar that when I started Fratello, I started working with Hoya de Nicaragua and Esteli. At that time, Joya Nicaragua had an agreement with through a state where I was unable to say where the cigar was being made at. I was able to produce a cigar with them. I just couldn't. And this was an agreement. I think it was negotiated between Dr. Alejandro Martinez Cuenca, I think it's Steve um, from Dumbarton, was
Mhm.
involved in the whole process and everything. And I just couldn't say where the cigar was being made at. And so tried going to a cigar shop and saying, "Hey, look for you to carry my cigars." And the guy's asking you, where do you make your cigar at? I'm like, cannot tell you. I'm sorry, but I would love for you to carry my products. I think it's amazing. Just know that it's really good. So the guy would have it. And so the product definitely spoke for itself, which I think was huge. And then fast forward to a situation where I was able to get the brand out from the get go at the PCA. I was at this trade show. It was my first trade show, was IPCPR at that time, and I thought that I was literally, I thought I would strike gold. Like 2 weeks before, I had made a presentation to somebody local here in Maryland, and they gave me a $2,200 order, which at the time I thought I was like, wow, this is incredible. People want my stuff, man. And okay, I was so excited. I got the order out. I'm thinking I'm coming into a trade show where there's hundreds and hundreds of shops that I'm going to be able to, do a good introduction. And it was a little harder than I had anticipated, to say the least. They don't. People are not as willing to give you a shot if you haven't had a chance to be around for a little bit longer, especially legacy shops. But on my first trade show, man, I mean, I hustled so much to the point that I had accounts like John Delicate Scraper, one of the oldest tobacconists in the United States, doing carrying Fratello, Nat Sherman, the Townhouse. My first trade show was carrying Fratello. So I think a combination of the cigar being as good as it is, plus obviously, the fact that people saw something different with Fratello and our branding. So I appreciate you saying that, the comment you said earlier about Fratello and the brand, and how easy and simple and how good the brand looks, because it really did speak volume to what we were trying to do. And so we walked out of that trade show with over 30 accounts. And then after that, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, basically working for NASA full-time, 12-hour days for 3.5 years. And then traveling on a Thursday night, working remotely on Friday, selling cigars Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and doing it again the week after that. So 3.5 years later, defunct marriage, Omar is fat, and I got a multi-million-dollar brand. So I guess some things do pan out for a reason, right?
I like that idea though that I mean, I think there's some people when they start a business, they think that business is going to carry them. And obviously you were smart enough to know that you probably needed to continue to work at
Yeah,
NASA until, things got situated. So what
yeah,
was that? I mean, that's this part of the entrepreneurial journey of the side hustle turning into a full-time thing. So
yeah.
did you set any goals for yourself at the beginning to kind of say, I'm going to give it this amount of time, or I'm going like, I need to hit this number in order to do it? Or were you just really treating Fratello as its own business? You were just having to divvy out the time between the NASA thing and it.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie. When I started Fratello, I started as a secondary source of income. I was thinking this could be pretty cool. Let me see how it does. Let me see how I do. But then when I made the first 30,000 cigar purchase, I'm like, my bank account went from this much to $2,200. Okay, yeah, I got to do something to sell this product, because otherwise, I would be murdered and hanged in many different ways. So, I definitely hustled it, man. I definitely went. I would meet people on a Saturday. I would travel 3 or 4 hours to sell 2 boxes of cigars on a Monday night, trying to get people to buy my product on Tuesday, go to Maryland, leave NASA at 7 o'clock, get home around 12:30. I would wake up with midnight sweats, just thinking, how the hell am I pulling this off? And then waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day to go to NASA and do my job. So it was definitely hard, Antoine. It was definitely a hustle that I I don't know if I can go through the same hustle now as I did then, because I feel like the hunger changes and the priorities change. And for me now, my priority is to scale Fratello to levels that it can not only continue to move through the different points of sales that we already have, but continue to expand our footprint and get our brand to as many people as we possibly can. Get people to come over to the humor and say, "Hey, do you carry Fratello? I'd like to try this brand," and get people excited about trying the different flavors and the different notes that you're able to pick up on our Fratello cigars.
And you talked about the resistance you encountered in the market when you were first a new brand. So I think a lot of people who start businesses encounter that resistance. And how did
Yeah,
you, how did that, like, I don't want to say rejections or no's, like, how did that impact your headspace? And how did you get beyond that in order to kind of keep going forward? Because I know a lot of people, like I said, it completely gets to them and it's hard for them to kind of continue onward.
yeah. No, that's a great question. I got so many no's I can't begin to explain to you, but the worst by far from a no from a retailer or a consumer that didn't enjoy your product or whatever was the naysayers in your inner circle. You know what I mean? That was the toughest one for me, man. It was like, saying, "Oh my God, this XY person is so close to me and they know who I am, they know my work ethic, and they still think I can't make it." It did two things. It brought me down. It brought me down a lot. Okay, like a lot. And so to me, that was a huge impact. But it also fed me and fueled me. Uh, you know, I'm not gonna lie. If I would not have had those people, kind of putting me down, saying, "Are you crazy? First race, you're gonna be way in the back. You're screwed. Get ready for 3, 4 years of not getting a single order and spending thousands of dollars on this." And I would come out of these meetings, and I'm like, um, "This is gonna be a failure." I just literally put all my money in this and more, and I put in the enormous amount of like time and family and all these different things, and so it was tough, man. But I feel this kind of stuff fuels me too, man. So I'm not gonna lie about that. I think it's the kind of stuff that makes me want to take over and just keep going, man, and keep going hard. And when people would tell me no at a don't even, everybody's like, they got their booklet and say, "Okay, so you're gonna go to this market? Oh, let me tell you, bro. Let me tell you, this right here, don't even bother visiting them. This one right here, you see, this is the number one. Don't even go there either, man. They'll never bring boutiques. They never do anything. Go to this one right here. Go to this. Go to this. Yeah, those are really good ones. You'll definitely land those. Those are good accounts." So I would do the opposite. I go to the other ones because everybody was either afraid to go or intimidated, or they didn't want to have to deal with like a rejection. To me, it was hell, man. It's just I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to whoever I feel could do a really good job for Fratello and getting the message of our product to the consumer. Because Antoine, we're a suggested sale, man. People need to understand that we as brands do not carry the legacy of 40, 50, 30, 60 years, 100 years in business. We just don't, right? You think you go around looking at Coca-Cola and you probably see Coca-Cola every single day of your life. Everywhere you see Coca-Cola. Could be an ad. It could be something on that somebody's drinking. I can guarantee you're probably seeing Coca-Cola every single day of your life. This was not done overnight. So you think Coca-Cola is all of a sudden going to be like killing it? It takes an enormous amount of time and an enormous amount of effort and an enormous amount of investment to get obviously to some of these, to get through some of these hurdles. But I believe that Fratello is growing to the point that I can honestly say that I can, not only expand on our team, which is something that I've always been very careful about, but we have now 2 positions that we're going to look to hire in the market, one in Texas, another one, in a different part of the country. And we're looking to do this so that we can get a chance to get Fratello constantly moving and traction at the cigar shops to get our growth to where it needs to be. So it's exciting stuff, man, but it's not easy, bro.
What you said reminded me of something I was listening to on Sunday. It was somebody speaking about encouragement and how we don't value encouragement in our society as much as we probably should. And you never think that just a few words of encouragement can like do wonders for people. And it's the same for businesses. Like you don't get compliments, all the time in business. You just don't. And with your job, I mean, I don't know about you, but like I work in a bubble sometimes, so
Yeah.
I encourage myself. So
Yeah.
it's just
It's
important to think like your story is. Don't let that lack of encouragement, even from your inner circle, kind of stop you from pursuing whatever it is that you need to pursue. So I think that's a good lesson to kind of take away from your story.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, it was harder than I thought to kind of swallow, because it brought me down. It did, and it takes a lot to bring me down, man. First of all, because I'm 6'9" and way too high up here, so so you have to really use a lot of force to like bring me down. But once you do, like for me to stay down long, it's I work really hard, man. I believe that if you put it in, a little bit of time, a little bit of work, it comes to fruition, right? I mean, and so, but it's also like, I can tell you there was three people in my life, three people that said, Omar, you should definitely quit NASA and do this full time. When I was about to make the decision. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did make the decision probably in the worst time in the industry, as I which was 2016. I had Rocky Patel here, Glenn Case from Christoph. I had the CRA guys, and it was a huge meeting. It was about 3 weeks before I left NASA, and I told the guys like, I'm looking forward to going in full throttle and doing this full time. And they were like, "What?" Rocky was like, "What? Crazy? You crazy, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm just gonna do it." It's like, and then Glenn Case was like, coño, Omar, no. So, I mean, I guess it worked out pretty good for my favor, because there was one thing I knew about those regulations, is that the government not only moves, not only were there so many gaps in that regulation, but because I read the whole freaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but there were also, the government moves slow. And that comes from my government experience. I figured we should have been out of business by 2018 by now, but we're still plugging along. So, and I think we still got longevity in front of us. So hopefully that's the case.
Well, especially in the tobacco industry, because with vapor and e-cigarettes included in the tobacco deeming stuff, I think that until they completely dismantle that industry, I don't think the cigar industry has a lot to worry about until they have nobody else left to focus their attention on. So
Yeah.
it seems to, like you said, have extended out the lifespan of the cigar industry, which is good because you've been able to kind of get traction in the industry now. People know you have a following. So
yeah, for sure. No, and it makes a big difference, man. It makes hopefully they can turn their attention to other substances that are getting legalized, and they can let us go for a little bit. And not against anything against pot smokers. I love you guys, but just saying, let us let us off the hook for a little bit. We could use a break.
So to switch over about the products, so you work with, you said Hoya and La Aurora, which I've seen you at the La Aurora factory during Pro Cigar 2020, right before the world shut down. I think I saw you. I think it was that Pro Cigar. If it wasn't that, it was Pro Cigar 2019, but I'm pretty sure it was the 2021. So what's it like working with these humongous factories? And because we always hear it from the perspective of the factory of bringing in somebody and making a cigar, but what was it like kind of going to these factories and kind of presenting them with your idea and saying, I have an idea for a blend? Like, how long did that whole process take?
It was a long process. The length of the process was more finding who your partner is, because I consider Hoya de Nicaragua and La Aurora my partners in business. These people manufacture the product that I so carefully was able to not only pick out, but also put our life, and soul and sweat and tears into this, right? So, entrusting somebody to do the manufacturing of this was to me is hard to find and make sure that I was able to be, I was given enough reins for me to grow and to play with the tobacco and learn, right? Because I mean, I'm still, I've been doing this for over almost 10 years now, and I still know, so little. There's so much yet to know about this. And I want to be given the opportunity to learn. I want to be given the opportunity to play. So if you give me those two things and I'll be happy. And so they have, and I got incredible leverage to work with the two oldest cigar factories in Dominican Republic and Nicaragua. So I think it's awesome.
So getting down to the products, tell us about what, different cigar brands you have in your portfolio and kind of how you just describe it to those people who have not tried Fratello yet.
Yeah. Tell you what, let's make it more interactive. How's that? Let me bring you around.
I feel like we're on like the episode of MTV Cribs, which is like
I
awesome.
know, right? All right. So one of my things that matters. I'll show you this real quick. This is one of our humidors, right? So you get a chance to some of the cigars that we've launched in the past, are like, I'll pull these ones out right here just to kind of show you a little bit about what we got. But yeah, MTV Crib actually would be like the best way to describe it. It keeps it interesting. I won't show you where the magic happens. How's that? Oh, shoot. There you go. All right. So this is the Fratello Classico. This is the original cigar that we ever launched in our company. This particular one is the Fuoco line. But the Fratello Classico is a cigar that, to me, basically exemplified everything I want in a cigar. I want a medium, full body, full flavor, cigar, balanced, complex. And that cigar, I made it in Joya de Nicaragua, in Estelí. And for me, producing that cigar had a lot to do with the people in the factories, learning from them, understanding what they were doing. Jose Blanco at the time, which is a good friend, was working at Joya de Nicaragua and working on this cigar. So I ended up doing with Joya was come up with a product that, if I couldn't sell the 30,000 cigars that I had produced, then I have 30,000 cigars to smoke for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? Right. So, but it was an expensive endeavor because, it would have kind of sucked. But I sold everything I had within 8 months of business, so I was pretty happy about the kind of the movement that we had. But this was the cigar that made it happen for us, and it's the Classico line. And it's one that if people haven't tried, I think you 100% should seek it out. It's got tobacco from Peru, which is very aromatic. I love Peruvian tobacco because of the sweetness and the flowers that come with that tobacco. So very, very unique. Then in 2015, I launched the Fratello Bianco, which is my Maduro. So this is a cigar that I was very, very proud about launching. It's the first time I've ever used tobacco from 5 different countries. So we put Mexican wrapper, we put Dominican tobacco, we put actually Pennsylvania, USA tobacco back in 2015, right? Which now is very popular. But I always made fun of that cigar because Mexico and USA have never gone along so well, buddy. Other than the Fratello Bianco right there. No wall, but it's good. And then the Fratello Oro was the one that I launched in 2016 with La Aurora Factory. 5 tobaccos from 5 different countries as well. And this is another cigar that I am fascinated about. Cameroon tobacco is the most expensive tobacco in the world. So people are looking to try some of the stuff that we have. This is definitely like within our core line. Some of the introductions to Fratello for sure.
Now, when you make cigars, do you make them for your palate or do you try to blend them for other people's palate?
Yes, it's all based on the fact that if I don't like it, I can't sell it. Period. So I gotta love the cigar. And a lot of times it's people see your vision. It's scary at times because you put your heart and soul, dude. We went through 56 different iterations of blends for this cigar because we were using so many different tobaccos. So any little thing could affect the flavor, right? So and also, I mean, the fact that that was the first cigar that I wanted to have like kind of like my emblem, like my soul, and I put a lot of effort into it. It took me a long time, but It came out incredibly successful as part of our core line. The Fratello Bianco is a very unique taste. So it's always very scary, Antoine, to like launch a cigar and you wanted to know if people see your vision, if they saw what you were looking to do with a cigar, or is it just something that does well? It is what it is. We'll, they just move on. But people had any idea how much of an effort it takes for us to get a cigar from the ground to where you're enjoying it at your table, or with your friends or whatever. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I always say on deep cuts is like when you speak to different brand owners, that's part of the story that unfortunately kind of gets lost because so much of with this digital age that we're living in is focused on what's new, what's new, what's new. And you had a press release and you get like 24 hours of good press. And then by the next day, even sometimes it's like old news and, people have moved on. So how have you kind of that momentum going, kept people interested in products that you've released years ago? Because I think that's a big challenge that a lot of business owners, whether they're in the cigar space or not, kind of struggle with. Like, how do you make something a little bit older still feel new and relevant today?
Yeah, no, there are a lot of brands that are launched into the market, and the way it works is they launch a brand and then you see them grow, and then all of a sudden they start going down, and you launch another one, and it kind of meets at half point, and that's kind of how you keep the cycle moving. For me, that's not an option. For me is I'm sticking to my cigars. I think when people ask me a question of like, hey, do you have anything that's new? It's like, have you had the Fratello Classico Corona? It's like, isn't it the one that you first launched? It's like, yeah, I think I had that. I was like, maybe you need to try it again and revisit it, because, if it's not in your rotation, then you need to try it again and see if it's something that could be or not, or you may have, breezed through the brand because you may have not liked the 6x60 Gordo or the box press torpedo, but if you try the Corona, you might actually fall in love, right? Because every single Vitola kind of has its own identity and plays off of its own identity. And so it's the one question that I love when people ask me is like, what's your favorite Vitola in this blend? And I always say, I got a favorite Vitola in every single one of my cigars. So it really does depend.
And I don't think a lot of people even think about that really in the cigar consumers. You always think about how the wrapper changes the cigar or how the filler changes the cigar. And not enough people kind of think about how the size of the cigar might change your whole smoking experience. Like smaller it is, it might be a little bit more harsher compared to a larger size. And it's just strange. Like I said, there's so many intricate areas of the cigar world that don't get spoken about because we're all kind of in a rush to get new products on the market and promote things. But it's a lot, like you said, even though people might think they've experienced something fully, they should go back and revisit that, even if it's as another size or, different wrapper of a cigar completely changed the whole experience.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And it's something that I always encourage, customers to ask, even their tobacconist, because the tobacconist is where the trust lies when it comes to the consumer. The consumer goes to a cigar shop and is going to his local cigar shop in his local city, or he's hanging out and smoking like 90% of the time. That's what the case is. So if that guy is able to spend his time not only teaching that person and going over with that person of how unique a cigar, like how different that person's palate is versus the cigar that he's about to enjoy, but also get a chance to understand, the Vitolas and transmit that message. I think the stronger the tobacconist is able to even further or even better transmit that message. And I think that's what consumers are looking for. The consumers are looking for somebody, not only not only will they place their trust in you, but they're also looking to see how you can learn from what they enjoy and recommend accordingly.
We have some comments that have come through in the last couple of minutes. One of them from Louis Toro Jr., who says, I'll be trying my first Fratello cigar later today. I have a Classico that a buddy hooked me up with recently. So I'm sure for a brand owner, that's always exciting to hear that people are, still discovering the brand and trying it out. And recommending it to their friends and stuff. I think word of mouth is probably the most powerful form of marketing you can have, because people buy from people. They don't really buy from brands or even
Yeah,
from a picture on Instagram. Like, they trust other people. So if you can get somebody to really promote your brand or your product, that's the biggest endorsement that you can get.
for sure.
One of the
Absolutely.
other comments came in from just somebody saying hello, but I'm sure you know this person, Karen
Yes,
Berger.
yes, yes. I got him.
So it's fun for Karen to watch and support. She's been a big supporter of Deep Cuts and all these different boutique or smaller brands. I know that that's her thing down in her store, Don Kiki.
Yeah.
And I heard you. I was listening to your recent interview you did with the Hot Ticket guys, their podcast, and you were talking about how that's part of the industry. Not a lot of people know that it's such a friendly industry, whereas in other businesses, like, you would never think about speaking to your competitor or
Yeah.
being friends with your competitor or just interacting with them. But here in the cigar industry, that's kind of the common way. Like, the more you separate yourself from the collective, it seems like the more kind of like your pull in the industry goes down. So just talk
Yeah.
about that part of the industry, like the relationships, like, because I don't think people like really understand how relationship driven this industry is.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you this, man. I was glad that I saw Karen's comment, because I think it's a lot of people. A lot of times, when you're looking into an industry, I think this is one of the very few industries that not only. I'm not going to say that people are freewheeling, giving every information out and it's all bells and whistles, because that's not obviously the case. But you forge great relationships with your competition, and that is definitely something unique. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody out there knows who their competitors are, but I think everybody, not only in most cases, respect the people that have been able to make it and have longevity. But also the people that are still trying to get their brands to grow, like Fratello, like Nicholas, like Caldwell, like Karen. I mean, there's so much there's still so much to be able to provide, and for people's creativity to kind of blossom. But I do love every single time I get a chance to see Karen cigars being sold in this location, House of Cigars, and with Diabellin, or see them at Old Virginia Tobacco here, or bumping into Caldwell a couple of months back, because we were both working a particular event. So and these are people that I personally think are doing incredible things. And so, are we all trying to get a piece of the market? 100%, right? I mean, it's the key though, and the biggest thing is, it's a very at NASA, we're known as a noble agency, because we don't have war or conflict as a mission, right? I mean, we're looking for space exploration and research, right? When it comes to the cigar industry, I think we're in the same boat, man. We're in a noble industry. There are way more cutthroat industries in this world, like perfume or alcohol or probably everything else. But when it comes to cigars, I think, we're kind of like in a league of our own, where people, there's a lot of respect. We're very family oriented. But it also comes to, don't mistake people's intentions. People are trying to, sell, grow, and have their cigars be the best that they can be. And that should never be taken. I don't ever take that for granted. It's, au contraire, I actually take it as something that fuels me to do better.
So going off of that, when you think of competition in business, what's your take on that? Is it necessarily a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Like, how do you kind of use competition to build up Fratello?
I love it, man. I think it pushes me. When I see somebody else kicking my ass, and I know they're kicking my ass. I'm sorry for the language, but
Okay.
I know when they're going after me doing certain things. I want to push myself to do better. I want to get my brand to grow further, right? And so if somebody else is doing something that is very unique, then I wanna do something that is even more unique, something that I can create with my team, with Dennis, Mariela, Gabriel, and things that we can not only all get behind, but that we all believe um, that at that moment is the best thing that we can do. And if I can continue to do that, I mean, how much can you push yourself if your competition, is not doing great things? And I don't know, man. I love it. I love seeing what when you guys have your awards, and I see, what people are getting praised on and whatnot. It obviously resonates. And same thing with it comes to cigars. If somebody's getting the number one cigar of the year, and I want to see, how and why are these people getting some of these recognitions, and what can I do to be better at it. So, um, but but I'm not gonna lie. I think we are in a noble industry where people call themselves brothers and sisters. I mean, what the hell is that? It's like, well, give me another industry of people calling themselves brothers and sisters. Let me get the hell out of here, right? This doesn't happen as often, right? And we're talking people you've never even met. That a guy hugged me at TPE and say, Omar, it's like, yeah. It's like, my man, dude, brother, I love your cigars, man. He's giving me a hug, and I'm like, well, damn shit, man, I love it too. Appreciate that. We have something in common. Let's have a conversation, and we're off to having some drinks. And so it is, to me, mind-boggling how that happens. But it doesn't surprise me, because I was telling the guys at Hot Ticket Podcast something that is so true. It is the only industry as well. And I challenged them, and I'm going to challenge you and see if you can come up with an answer where two people with probably the most diverse income would ever be sitting in the same place together, probably smoking or doing the same thing, and having a lengthy 30, 40, 50 an hour minute conversation. It's not that many, man. It doesn't happen in the ballpark, because that guy who just done dropping off packages at UPS making 25, $35,000 a year, and the other guy that was literally sitting right in front of me, that was, the owner of the entire building, is probably making 2.5 million, will never ever be in the exact same spot ever again and having an open conversation. And these people are smoking my cigars, so we're talking, we're chilling, and it's a great environment. People are buying cigar boxes. Both of those guys bought boxes of Fratello. Where does that happen? You tell me they're going to be sipping on the same wine. You tell me they're going to be sitting in the same, ticket in an airplane. You know what I mean? It just doesn't
Mhm.
happen. So I think it's very unique.
Yeah, and that's why, like you kind of said just now, that's why we in the cigar industry have brothers of the leaf and sisters of the leaf, and that's not something that you have in a lot of other industries. You don't have like brothers of the bottle or sisters of the bottle. Maybe it's like an unspoken
Brothers
thing,
of the ticket next to me, or
right?
Brothers of the Opera. Does not happen. I agree.
So it's definitely a very, like I said, unique industry that you just don't understand until you've kind of been in it for a while and really get to
Yeah.
know it. So,
The
I,
money. Well, listen, I could be making 20 times what I'm making right now, guaranteed. Period of story. But it's like, and I've had people that have approached me, say, hey, I love the industry. I would love to get in, da 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 da. But I'm making this much right now, and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna make that here, man. If you want to keep the money, get that job. It's like, but people are willing to I guess, walk out of $200,000 a year to, sell cigars. So I guess that kind of applies to me, right? So people are willing to take that leap because of the unique aspect of what we do. So,
definitely, I think it's passion is required for this, because
yeah.
if you're getting into cigars as a brand owner, thinking that you're going to make all this money, I've yet to encounter anybody yet, even people who've been in the industry for years or decades, who are just rolling in the money.
Yeah.
It's really a passion project and passion kind of industry. Like I say, you're getting in it because you love it for some other reason other than the money. And then even those people who make the money, and then it's like it's like this kind of hamster wheel of how do we keep up making this money, because it's nothing that you can like really hold on to like once you do start making it. So it's definitely like I said, a unique industry that for people who really want to get to know something very interesting, cigars are definitely that thing to kind of watch and see. Um, at this point in the show, I usually like to give a little bit of advice. I have you give people, the readers and listeners and watchers of all this content that's going to come out of this interview, a little bit of advice. So one of the first questions I like to ask is, what's something that you had to learn in order to become better at being the brand owner of Fratello?
Organization. It's and accountability. Those are the two things that I work on every single day, man. Every single day. You know, I'm reading a book right now called Atomic Changes, and it's based on how do I constantly try to be more efficient, more lean about my business and my approach, and how do I not make decisions in a vacuum, right? I want to make decisions in a, where, Colin Powell said it best to me that if you, especially when it comes to decision making, that if you, took in 75% of all the information to make a decision, then you probably waited too long. If you, make a decision with only 20% of the information, then you probably, took a hunch on that one and see how it goes. But making your decision close to 50%, then that's good enough information, especially in the battlefield, to come out with something that could be beneficial to the end means, right? But for me, it's organization and accountability every single time, where you have somebody. I have my own self-appointed board of directors. It's my cousin, who's probably also one of the smartest people I've ever met, and somebody who I trust in every decision making in every decision that I make. A lot of times we don't see eye to eye. A lot of times we do, and so what I've come to realize is that if I am able to be accountable to him every single month and divulge my sales information, give him information about what are the things that are coming up, what is some of the things that I'm struggling with, then that's the kind of stuff that makes me always. Everybody always wants to look good when they're making a presentation, right? So I always try to thrive to make my PowerPoints very well, get everything and all my things organized. So organization, and especially for entrepreneurs, accountability is a big thing, because you can make every single decision you can and you want, and you have the control of your own time. But if you don't push yourself to constantly be out there, you can get stagnant, and that's not or will ever be the stage where I would feel comfortable for Fratello to be in.
So if someone comes to you and they say, Omar, I have a decent job, but I want to go out. I'm thinking of, going out and starting my own business. What advice do you give that person?
Do you have a business plan? And that's the question. If the answer is no, then I'm not saying that people can't do it. I'm saying you'll have a harder access to market, because the only thing that a business plan does, and there's so many things that entrepreneurs and people can tell you about the way business runs. What a business plan does for you is research. That's it. Like I probably 5% of my business plan probably came to fruition, but I did my job. I did my research. I knew how many people were in this industry. I knew how many cigars were being imported. I had so much information because I did a little bit more than the person next door. And if you're looking and measuring success by not only longevity, but staying power and staying relevant, then we've done a pretty damn good job. And I feel like that would be the first one thing that I would ask. And then, if the answer to that question is yes, then how bad do you want it? And I think that's important to know what drives you and what pushes you, and what gets in your nerves, man. and if you have those things, then you got something for you, and the numbers and your hustle will speak for itself, and people will know. You will know.
So going off of that, just curious, what's your why, or what motivates and drives you?
Man, that's I don't know if I can tell you this. This is that is probably the first time in 9 years that I've been asked that question. This is a good one. And I'm going to
Uh-oh.
give you you know what? I'm going to give you the honest answer. I'm going to give you the honest answer. It's 100% obviously not money. It is definitely not money. It is I am driven by a variety of factors that can get me to the point of either excelling or going down a spiral tube that can bring me down as well. And I know this as a fact for the way that I just see things, and I attack attack certain things. But I'm very passionate. I'm a very passionate guy. You know, love or hate for a brand, or for my own personal desires to achieve certain things in life, push me and drive me a lot. It There was one time, I can give you this example. I think you'll really kind of get the message for it. But I was with my now ex-wife, but at that time wife, and we were coming out of a meeting. There's a family dinner, and there was a lot of conversation about, yeah, man, what the hell? You're gonna leave NASA and try and see you can sell cigars, and dude, that's not gonna work. It was naysayers after naysayers, and this is my closest inner circle, and I'm like about to throw myself from the Empire State Building. I can't handle it, and I'm looking at this whole situation and saying, how do I do this? And it was tough, man. It was really, really hard for me. So what I had to do was I went up the room, and my wife at that time was like, you need to. This is the time where you got to show off, show them what you got, and prove them wrong. And so that's all she had to do. And 3.5 years later, after starting Fratello, I was able to leave in 2016 to be doing this full time, and I am proud of that. I was the only brand that actually doubled down in 2016 and went full throttle into the industry, and it was because of that drive. So the way to motivate me, what drives me, is incredibly different from what motivates and drives other people. But it is something that I feel will continue to bear fruit for Fratello going forward.
Well, that's an awesome story. So thank you for answering that very personal question. What's ahead for Fratello? Because as we're filming this, is April 5th. So we have a big chunk of 2022 to still get through. And
Yeah.
like, I know that you're a forward thinking guy, so you're probably thinking of April 2023 already, and and beyond. So what's ahead for your company that you can share with us today?
Yeah, so a few things. We're working on a new limited edition cigar that we're hoping to launch into market, in time for a few things. And one of the things that is driving this, as we are getting ready for our 10th year anniversary in 2023, is the preparation and the consolidation of our efforts across, our brick and mortar shops, and the success that I feel we can have by extending, being more connected with our consumers. So between a new limited edition product, between making sure that we go back to TPE, by the way, which was an incredible experience this past year. So I was glad we were able to talk at TPE in 2022. Are some of the things that we're hoping will continue to not only attend to, but as a business, strengthen our processes, and as a brand, continue to supply products that are, of the quality that our customers are expecting and that we, are expecting as well. So for me, it's about strengthening our processes, making sure that our brand continues to grow and have the legs international. But the biggest thing really has to do with, coming out with products and new things that people, can understand where our vision was to be able to launch it in the market. So.
Awesome. So for those people who are not watching this or who are listening to this, could you tell people what website and what social media stuff they need to follow in order to keep up with you and what's going on with Fratello?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So if you guys look us up on Instagram, on at Fratello Cigars, and at Omar de Frias, please follow us, check us out, check out some of the product. I'll do a quick plug for our YouTube channel. It's called Imperfect Pairings. I think it's pretty damn cool. If you guys are looking to see some interesting, pairings, you'll definitely find it there. Karen was a guest in our show, and we've gotten some interesting things out there between me pairing cigars with burgers and oysters and quite a few other crazy things, Ginginha and Portugal. I think there's quite a few things that you guys will be able to enjoy. So hopefully we get your subscription and some of your followers to follow our brand, and hoping that we can definitely make it back into the show and continue to interact with you and your viewers going forward.
Well, definitely. I always tell people that you have an open invitation to come back. So maybe later on this year, we'll have to have you back and talk about some of the new releases and whatever transpires between now and the end of the year, which in this industry could be a lot. So I'm sure we'll have something to talk about when you come back on later on this year.
For sure.
With this, but I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your story and talking about Fratello. Like I said, I wanted to have you on for a while, and when I finally got this thing figured out and moved the show off of Instagram Live, I was like, I feel like this is the time I could have Omar on. I didn't think you wanted to be like me and holding a phone the whole time. It was not fun. It was good conversation, but it was just very difficult. So this new version is a little bit better. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me over, Antoine. Anything else you guys need, please keep me posted, and I look forward to hopefully joining you soon. Okay?
Yeah, definitely. So for those people watching, just know that we do at least one show a week. Lately, we've been doing 2 shows. It's going to be 2 shows basically all month. So we have another show coming up on Thursday. So that will be at a very special time at 1:00 p.m. for those of you who want to watch live. It'll be with John Huber from Crown Heads. So that will be an awesome interview. And for all the past interviews, I think this is episode 78. So for all the other 77 episodes, if you missed it, no fears. You can watch all the other episodes on deepcutslive.com. They're available in both video format, so YouTube links, and also they're available wherever you listen to your audio podcast. So Apple and Google and Spotify and iHeartRadio, all that kind of stuff. It's everywhere. So thank you again, and I look forward to connecting with everybody later on this week and online. And one more thank you to our guest, Omar, for coming on. And I will see everyone hopefully here on Thursday for the next episode. Thank you. Have a good day, good night, whenever you're listening to this. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.